it for Andrew. So I remember I had asked her, so how can you love again after a series of heartbreaks until you have lost trust in men? So, I mean, you being happily married, I don't know whether you went through these heartbreaks or anything. So maybe it's about time you tell us whether it was an easy road or it was bumpy until you got to settle down. So over to you, Patricia.
Thanks, Kefa. And I'll just encourage those who are on the call to please post your questions, your comments. Let's try and make this as interactive as possible. I want to give a warning that, of course, I carried out my dating and my wedding in the past century. We are now in the 21st century. I concluded all these things in the 20th century. But I hope that my experiences will transcend into the current century. Every good thing, I believe, must have some pain in it. If your whole experience in life, you have not felt challenged, you have not felt pain, I want to challenge you that you have also not been bold. You've lived your life on the safe lane. Even as I say this, I will readily confess that before I met Nyaundi, I was raised by very strict parents. So I kind of did not have the opportunity to, meet other men. He was my first and last love. Before him, there was a guy who didn't make his intentions known until when he found me leaning very determinedly towards Nyaundi, and then he said, "Oh, I told him, but you never said." Sadly for him, his name was also Patrick, so that would have been a very good couple. I think would have been Pato squared. But I don't think you call me to mourn that. What I feel, even though I am a single horse kind of when it comes to relationships, is I can speak about now a relationship when it's in marriage. We hurt each other, we disappoint each other, but I can testify that that's what enriches the experience. If you've had a relationship that then shatters, I think it's a good time for you to then sit and ask yourself, what happened? What really happened? And when I speak to ladies, I am always quick to say, don't even try to blame yourself. Don't even try to take responsibility. Especially for us ladies, usually we are at the receiving end. That society allows men to sample, the way on a buffet in a restaurant, a man is actually allowed to walk the entire table and put a little bit of everything on the plate. And yet women are not allowed to do this. Even as I say that, I have seen some relationships where it is the man who is at the receiving end. He thinks that this relationship was headed somewhere, and then the girl just announces, by the way, I don't think you are meant for me. I don't think this relationship is headed anywhere. I suppose it can even be more devastating for men, given that they are socialized to be hunters. And then a hunter should never be in a position where the person they are hunting actually says, sorry, your arrow, cannot nail me down. So I think when relationships, first of all, is to know that, it can end badly. Just open yourself to that possibility. And when it does, to not allow yourself to be drained by it. when a relationship ends, it can really attack your self-esteem, because I know a young girl who thought she was just ringing her boyfriend in the normal course, the way you ring, and on her own airtime, uh, the boyfriend made it known that the relationship was ending. So you can imagine the indignity of that somebody dumps you on your airtime. He does not even have uh, the, the 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 utu, uh, the the sense of responsibility to then use his airtime to terminate the relationship. Uh, so when we were having the conversation, I asked her, but all along, you didn't get any signals about whether or not this was the person you wanted to invest your heart in. And when we then, after the tears and everything, which is good to cry and do that, uh, after we came out of the tears, she said, Yenyewe, if I'm honest, these are the following signals. So she was able now to look back and say, if I'm honest, at some point I even started feeling uncomfortable. But the way we were discussing last week, that for us ladies, when you are around 26, 27, the pressure is also on you, that you ought to be settling down. The biological clock is racing against you. So I think it was very easy to suppress the red lights that kept flashing, because she was like, look, this relationship, I've been in it for a year. If it ends, it means another year of growing a relationship. I then will be 28, 29. My expiry date is fast approaching. So I think in all this, for us ladies, sorry, gents, if you feel like I'm not addressing your issue, but for us ladies, the other thing is for us to live our lives like we don't have an expiry date. This is something that's just imposed on us. Why should somebody say uh, by 25 you're approaching sell by date? What does that mean? Uh, I have now come to meet people who are getting into marriage at 40, 45, and it's working. So let's get out of this sell by date. I'm seeing Robin here, and in the past, I have been one of those mamas who has been guilty of calling out, especially young men, and putting pressure on them to settle down. That's a conversation that I can have with Robin separately. Robin, I'm not relenting. But let's go out there. Let's make friends. Let's not fear that these relationships will end. Sometimes when they end, it's for the better, especially uh, depending on the reason it's ending. If, for instance, and this happens a lot to us ladies, somebody is terminating a relationship because you're refusing to give him the benefits of a husband, I think that's a relationship that should end. If a relationship is ending uh, because you are refusing to compromise, some relationships end because the gentleman says, or if we are going to marry, you have to join my church. And you say, no, I need to remain Adventist. If a relationship ends on principle, I think that is okay. I think that's perfectly okay. But if a relationship is ending, I've heard of relationships, let me see. If a relationship is ending because you said, let's, like, he didn't remember Valentine, the second Valentine into your relationship. He doesn't buy you flowers or doesn't engage you, and the relationship ends. I think there is opportunity there if the two of you are invested to have a conversation around what do you want to prioritize in your relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. The next question is over to you, Andrew. Welcome to the panel. So a member is asking, how do you deal with a jobless fiance who is choosy in the jobs that they are open to, or rather having excuses for any vacancy options presented? Is it okay to just let go? Over to you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you very much. In this case is it's the guy who is jobless and is giving excuses. That's what I'm assuming. Is it a guy?
As I can see, it's
or it's general.
General, yeah. It's a fiance.
Okay. Let me start from the point of view of when he's giving a lot of excuses. Why are we having the excuses? You see, there is that aspect of financial security. The Bible says money is a defense. The love of money is what we don't like, but hard work is a biblical principle in Ecclesiastes. So you need to work hard. Why is this person avoiding opportunities? There are vacancies. Why is he not applying for the jobs? Is he developing a culture of dependency? If you have somebody who's developing a culture of dependency, then we know here is a risk. And that is not the kind of risk that you want to walk by. Because as you look at family finances, it then means that there are certain things that you have to sit down and discuss. So when you will be getting, and I like saying the point of dates actually having a proper view of how you will live your life at the future. If you are disorganized when you are dating, don't think that marriage automatically just makes you all of a sudden, voila, you are now seriously organized. You will just carry forward the disorganization from your dating to your married life. So it's one thing that if this person is giving excuses, I feel it's a red flag. The problem with young people, we don't like looking at the red flags. I love the way Sister Patricia has been putting it. There are certain things that when you see that this person is asking for 1, 2, 3, which you know you are not supposed to be giving to your boyfriend or such, just know that's a red flag. Whoever is going to ask for sex out of marriage will not be satisfied when they are in marriage. They will actually become adulterous. So all these red flags, we are supposed to look at them. And by the way, finances is a very serious thing, which if somebody does not want to fend and somebody just wants to sit back and do nothing, I think it is not a good thing. That one is not a good spirit. I like telling most people, especially when I talk about what is this called? When I talk about qualities to look for in a husband, one of the things, in fact, Sister White makes it clear that no man is without excuse to have no financial means. Men should not have an excuse at all. Men are expected to be able to come up. In fact, the Bible says in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8, that if you cannot provide for your family, you're worse than an infidel. I was just telling some congregation today that, you see, those who are not providing for their families, it's better to even have somebody who is a non-Adventist who is feeding their family than claiming to be an Adventist. You are giving the wrong picture of an Adventist. So we are supposed to be able to come up and know that this is a red flag. This person who doesn't want to apply for jobs, he's jobless. He wants to, that spirit of dependency, it's a bad one. Especially if it's from a guy, it's a bad one. I'm speaking as a guy. So I'm also putting the standard high for me, but I'm speaking as a guy. I just have to speak the truth. There's this guy, there's a question I have, I think I follow up to this. The guy who has, there's this guy, you have waited for him to finish his master's. When you think he's ready, he tells you his parents want him to do PhD. No job. How should you handle that one? I think this is also a good one. The guy has finished his master's. His parents want him to do a PhD. And all this time you've been dating, he's not planning to have a job and settle. Let him choose. If he wants to do his PhD, let him go and do his PhD. Let him set you free so that you don't also stick here. What if tomorrow after he has gotten his PhD, his parents want him to become a professor? So I think we really need to be able to handle these things clearly. There are no excuses that you should give. By the way, when you're getting into a relationship, get into a relationship when you know what you want at the end of it. If there are certain things that are keeping you from commitment, make them clear early enough. The problem with most young people, you don't make these things clear. You keep a lady waiting and she waits and she waits. Then when the lady thinks you're about to propose, then tomorrow you say, you know what? I've realized I have to finish my PhD first. Then the lady waits again. Then when the lady thinks you're proposing, something else comes up. So we should have a situation whereby all these things, we seek to handle them clearly and be transparent in everything that you are putting across. For the guys, I will just say, you need to be responsible. And ladies who are listening, please look for guys who are responsible. And responsibility comes in everything, how he manages everything. Don't just wait and think that, oh, on Sabbath he's dressed smartly. That is just one aspect. There is 100%, he has only qualified 10%. So responsibility is something that we really have to take seriously. And even when you are in a relationship, when you are dating, let's see that responsibility beginning very early. And I like the addition that Sister Patricia has put across, that things like studies, you can be able to undertake your studies when you are married. So if you are using it as an excuse and you are convinced, then I think those excuses are not good excuses. The basic studies which you really need when you're still in primary, we want you to finish, don't multitask. When you're still in secondary, finish, don't multitask. Finish your undergraduate. But additionals, hey, please, learn also to handle more than one thing at the same time. Because are you trying to say when you have a kid, you will not be going to work? You'll be able to multitask. There are so many things that you will get. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that various feedback. Thank you. Patricia, over to you. It is always advised that when you want to settle with a partner, it's good to be open and share your past. So the question is, to what extent should our pasts be shared?
Okay, I'm really going to be honest here. There's a reason why it's the English word is that it's your past. It's behind you. I have no reason resurrecting things that I have put behind me. They are not a part of my present. So if I had a child, that's not in my past. The child is present. So that's not my past. But if I used to go dancing, if I had a boyfriend before him, so I can't meet. So let me be with the people I know here. I can't start a relationship with Moses and then start telling him, by the way, Robin used to be my guy. And in fact, one weekend we went to Naivasha. Tukakunywa, was so wasted. Why am I telling you that? really, why am I telling you that? So I feel that in terms of full disclosure, it's okay for me to say I come from a polygamous home. It's okay for me to say I have a child I got before I met you. But I don't think I should start saying my previous relationships unless there's something current about them. Because the moment I could have been, I mean, we are young people, we're in the same church. The moment, it could be the last 6 months, it's Robin who's been walking me from the church to get the bus there on Gitanga Road. But the moment that Kefa takes over that role of walking me from church to the gate, I shouldn't be introducing Robin in our conversations. Especially if I have told Robin, from now it's Moses walking me to the gate, thank you. But I feel your walk to my walk with yours, you're not in step with me, and the conversations we are having are not showing me any future, but Moses is showing me. So I end what I had with Robin. It is not prudent for me to introduce that in my relationship, because human nature is human nature. People are insecure. When I'm seated with Moses and he notices that Robin is seated 2 rows behind us, and when the preacher says something, when I laugh, I look behind at Robin and our eyes engage. Robin's insecurities are going to disturb our relationship. Okay? So, of course, what this means is that we also appreciate that our past is our past. Wachana nayo. The problem with this thing of past coming to haunt our relationships is even the person with the past does not abandon their past. So you will find Moses has a past of pengine pitiaring places that Adventists in good and regular standing should not be passing through. I am his girl whom he has found in Lavington SDA, who wears a skirt of the appropriate length. He does not disclose this to me. So every Friday, I'm unable to account for Moses' movements. Okay, so that's a problem, because Moses has not put that in his past. It's still a part of his present. But the moment you shelve it away, it should not factor in our relationship. My experience with this, our dark pasts, the things we have done, that we have repented, God has said, I have separated these sins from you as far as the east is from the west. God has separated them. Now, why are you, what God has changed from scarlet to white as snow, why are you still walking around with it in a bag and burdening people? I would rather a situation where, yes, I used to frequent joints. Is that what they are called? So somebody comes to Moses and says, hey, the way I see you growing this relationship with Patricia, do you know she used to be a patron at XYZ? I would rather that Moses comes to confront me with that information, and at that stage I tell him, Moses, where did you find me? Have you not found me at Lavington? That is my past. If you're burdened with my past, let's terminate this relationship now. As opposed to me, coming and putting all these things and burdening, because that's what you do, you burden this person with them. That's my view. And I think the last thing I would say is that now for us third parties who make it our business, that when you see a couple is, something is, the gears are engaging, then you become the Vasco da Gamas and Livingstones. You discover and you pronounce your discoveries. Hey, you people, mnajua huyo Patricia? Guy, tangu akuwe na Moses alikuwa na Robin, akakuwa na Morris, akakuwa na Dennis. Yani, does Moses know the girl he's... I think that's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. Let's learn from the experience of Saul, especially those of us who are in church. Because the Christian journey of redemption is such that those of us who stand up right now, at one point in our past, we were really low. We were really low. And I think we need to appreciate the saving power of God to transform us, to really, really transform us, and then not be the ones who make it our business to break people's relationships because of their past.
Thank you, Patricia. Andrew, there's a question on the chat that I would like you to answer, and as a follow-up question, because they are related. Sorry. Yes. So Andrew, because the question on the chat is related to what I have here, it's good for me to ask you that you can answer both questions. So, is a man obligated to spoil his woman? Right? Should a man sacrifice his financial future at the altar of spoiling a woman? So basically, so let me paraphrase this question. So the member is asking, is a man obligated to spoil his woman? Should a man sacrifice his financial future at the expense of spoiling a woman? So you can answer that with the question posted on the chat. Andrew, over to you. Andrew, are you there? So Patricia even has, okay, so Andrew.
Sorry, can you get me now?
Yeah, I can. Did you hear the question?
If you can get me, I'm saying the question is a man obligated? Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, is a man obligated to spoil his woman? Should a man sacrifice his financial future at the altar of spoiling a woman? And of course, there's another question on the chat saying, please elaborate what you mean by the man being a provider. Should this responsibility be left to him alone? What if the lady has a job too? So you could answer both questions. Thank you.
Okay, let me respond to both questions. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah, you are.
Is a man obligated to spoil a woman? I will say, his woman, I will say, what do we understand by the word spoil? In this case of spoil, there is a given way in which if you are spending on somebody, you're supposed to spend on somebody who is your wife in such a way. So somebody who is your girlfriend, some men make life difficult for other men. So here is a lady. The lady is barely your girlfriend, but you are spending over 50,000 on this lady. So one, you're likely even to confuse the lady. Whether the lady loves you or not, she may continue loving your money. So that is one case which I would want us to carefully look at and try to avoid such kinds of scenarios. The other thing I always say is, even as a lady, don't become materialistic when you are in a relationship, for instance. When you're in a relationship, there are certain things. If a guy is constantly giving you handouts and giving you a lot of money, you're supposed to ask yourself and ask the guy, what is it you are paying for? Why are you giving me so much money? A man who is married is supposed to treat a wife in a very wonderful way. But I always like stating that let us learn to deal with every level. I ask you, if when you are dating, you take your girlfriend and all the time you are buying for her things that are very expensive and all that, what are you going to do when you get married? So is a man obligated? I would say it depends with what level you are. A man who is married has got obligations on the wife and everything. But when you are in a think of it in terms of spending a lot of money, it's not wise. Because at times, I think you end up confusing the lady. There are even some people, they don't want to leave you. They don't like you, but they like getting the money you are giving them. So someone is not sincere with you. And all this time you think you are in a relationship, but maybe you are not even in a relationship. Someone is just there. It's more of a parasitic association that you are in. Nothing like a relationship of spending your relationship. Define your relationship very well and carefully, and know how you are going to spend. In fact, one of the reasons most young people normally have a lot of anger issues and the breakups are very painful is because you've invested a lot in it. So you put in a lot of money and you're wondering, why are you leaving me after I have already spent so much money on you? So please don't spend so much money. It's a relationship. It's slow. Go slow. Because the biggest point they are starting the relationship is married. So when now you have your life, I think it is not good. As a provider and both of you are working, well, once you get married, you will be taught about family finances and all that. When you talk about family finances, you don't talk about my money. It is money that is in the family coffers. And so I pools of are you supposed to contribute something? Am I supposed to contribute something? When you love each other and when you are sensible enough and you are godly, you will understand. Even the term helper, God gave a helpmeet. Your helper will be able to help you in some cases. But as a guy, try and be at a level where you can be helped. Be at a level where the person who is coming in is coming to give you some good support. As your wife comes in, she comes in to give you a good support. I know the other follow-up question will be, what about if she's earning more than me? Whatever you are earning, just be diligent with it. Be a provider with what you are earning. And let me tell you, a sensible wife, if you go read Proverbs 31, you will understand that lady goes out and ensures that there is food for the family and everything. But let me tell you, as she goes out like that, she's doing the best that she can to ensure that her family is wonderful, her family is well clothed. But you as a guy, don't forget your role and responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So there's a question, maybe a follow-up that Patricia will respond to, and of course weigh in on those two. Patricia?
The follow-up question is related to finances.
Oh, you can maybe weigh into the questions Andrew has tackled, and as well respond to the question sent by a member to you.
Okay, I just want to say, gentlemen on the call, you have got to show love and appreciation to these ladies. I don't think, I mean, ladies are like flowers. You water them. You can't start saying, hapa tutakaa ngumu. You know? No, 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 no. I am not encouraging a situation where you spend beyond your budget, but a lady has got to know you value her. What Chief has said, I agree. This is not about being materialistic. If you find my husband, he will tell you what knocked me off my feet were the notes. And you know, he's raised in Kisii, but he used to write me love notes. I treasured those notes. In his own hand, not a card, he would write and express his love for me. I'm telling you, there was no way you're going to persuade me that this was not the guy I should love. Where were we going for our dates? Uhuru Park. This was in the 90s, not the Uhuru Park of now. And we could get a soda. I laugh now when I remember, with some bread and eat. On the days that he had student allowance from the university, we went to the Wimpy at Kenyatta Avenue, and there was a Mandy's restaurant where he would buy me pizza. It is through love that I was introduced to pizza. So please, let there not be a drought in the name of saying, let's not, we don't want to spoil you, we want to keep it real so that when you get married, things don't shift so much. I feel that as women, we were created to be loved, and with actual demonstrations of love. And it doesn't need to render you bankrupt. And I think, ladies, for her, the question, the issue for us is, how do we reciprocate these expressions of love? I have seen even married women who, you know, there's nothing I think that kills a guy after he has put sometimes not his best foot forward, but a foot forward, and then you say to him, Sasa wewe, did you see the way Robin treated X? What's this you're doing? You know, why can't you, you know, so I think for us ladies, it's just a question of us showing these our men, especially if you're in a relationship with him, that you appreciate he has put his best foot forward. And if you want to live like Sonko's girlfriend, then hunt Sonko down. Don't trouble the likes of Moses, who, when he takes you to a restaurant, he's telling you, I nasikia tumbo inanisumbua leo, I'll just take water, you eat the food. I'm not feeling like eating. So these our guys, when they, you know, and he's done hesabu because you've asked for quarter chicken. He's like, wow, I can't even eat plain chips. Let me just say my stomach, and for sure the stomach is rumbling. The other point I think for us to note, when we are talking about relationships and some of the challenges we face, is please, you don't show up. You are a creation of your past. Your past has molded you. The context in which you were raised has molded you. So some of us have grown up in homes where we had fathers who were deadbeat. You know, your father has never paid fees. Maybe he's polygamous. He beats your mother. He has numerous relationships outside of marriage. You could never take him at his word. This is your understanding of what a man is. Some of us grew with mothers. The only time she keeps quiet is around midnight. Now she's tired. She just collapses and sleeps. But the whole day she has been talking. She is the source of all the gossip in that location. So this is your appreciation of women. Some of us, the sisters we have had. I know a guy who grew up, he was young, so he grew up with his sister. His sister was married, but was working in a different town with her husband. And his sister would bring men to the house. So he came to be very suspicious, because he said if the sister he loved so much could cheat on her husband, he felt that all women were cheats. And so it's very important that as you enter a relationship, as you enter this phase where you're entering into relationships, to start asking and understanding yourself, what is my socialization? How have I been conditioned? How did I see my parents relate? How has that impacted on me? So that if you're damaged in any way, some of us women, we have been sexually abused, even by people we trust. So you will find, even as you're going into a relationship, you are always anxious and saying, when is he going to try and rape me? When is he going to ask for the goodies? Because that is your appreciation, that this is all that he is after. So your calculation is that if I give him the goodies, he will be here to stay. Then shock on you, you avail the goodies and he takes a walk. So the point I'm making is, don't underestimate the potential of your past, your family background, your past relationships. Don't underestimate their potential to disrupt the new relationships that you want to go to. But because I think it's important, I will repeat, please, 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 gentlemen, spoil your girls. Spoil them. It is easier to spoil a girlfriend than it is a wife. And if you learn to spoil a girlfriend with your wife, you will find it much easier to be romantic. I hope, ladies, you agree with me. If you do, please put there in the chat, spoilers, 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 so that at least the guys on the call don't feel like this is just a 20th century thing, but they also get to understand that they should be doing it in the 21st century. Thank you.
Oh, Patricia, thanks for crucifying us live on the chat. Andrew, over to you. So there's a member asking, how should a shy individual go about when it comes to dating? Simple question. Andrew?
How should a shy individual go about?
Yeah, when it comes to dating, yeah.
The shy individual is the lady or it's the guy?
The members not specify the sex, the gender.
So we handle both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me begin by saying, the Bible says, the fearful will be outside the city. So cowards are not going to be found in heaven. Just be confident. I think whatever you call shy would be just, can I say, there are certain things that you feel like you've not mastered or something of the sort. You know, when you have control over a situation, it's so easy to talk about it. When you say you are shy, one of the questions I would ask myself, why are you shy? What is making you afraid? You can overcome some of these things. And I think one of the reasons people are shy is the fear of what to expect. What if I try myself out and somebody rejects me? But you see, rejection is one of the responses that you are expecting to receive. If you're not rejected, and all the times you're just getting yes, 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 it's not always like that. That's not how life is. Life has rejection. The people will reject you, the people will accept you. So when you are shy, one of the best things to do is you need to build on your self-esteem. You could just be having an esteem issue. The other thing is you may even be comparing yourself with others. You know, there's some people who can intimidate you by how they carry out themselves. There is somebody who, when they are talking to even ladies, even their choice of words, you just feel like, hey, I can't do it. But you see, maybe the lady was not looking for choice of words. Maybe there's a lady who is just looking for somebody who is not even having the words. So I think one of the things that will help you is, remember, being yourself also means when you have in your mind that you're shy, it's all in your mind. I'm wondering, how do you say you're shy, and yet when you are hungry, for instance, and you want food, and you are shy for food, you will never get food. But when you just master the courage and say, hey, I'm not feeling well, I am hungry, it may be that somebody will listen to you and get for you food. And that's the same thing about relationships. If you feel like you really want to get into a relationship this way, because I know enough people will say, but Chief, we need real life examples. Don't be just asking us to master the courage and everything. I believe that there are certain things that I can be able to handle. I've always believed that, and I think I'm not shy, but I was a bit very careful before even approaching my wife when I wanted to go out with her. The thing is this: there are also fears which I had. What if she refuses? And at times it happens. And one of the things that for me I did is I tried to create speaking acquaintance with her first. I must admit that by the time I was requesting my wife that we go out, it was a solid 4 years later from the time when I managed to identify her and see her and I know that she exists on planet Earth. It was 4 years later. And within all these 4 years, I had given myself all the excuses. One of the excuses is, I know she's in a relationship, which I had not even verified. I didn't even know. It's only that I kept on seeing her working with her cousin, and I concluded that they're in a relationship. But one thing I've learned is it doesn't have, there is no wrong question. And one of those ways in which you can understand that there is no wrong question, if you are interested in somebody, just go ahead and make your point clear that you have the interest. There's a question which I think we had last time, which was talking about, what about a lady? Can a lady propose to a guy and such? And one of the things that I think comes out clearly is that, you see, as a lady, in so much as we may find it not easy to go and tell a guy, you know what, I think I'm interested in you. But there's a principle in the book of Ruth. And that principle in the book of Ruth can really be a blessing to all the ladies. The principle in the book of Ruth is called the gift of strategic positioning. Ruth is advised by Naomi that, you know what, I want you to go. And by the way, don't pick this gift in the wrong way. Strategic positioning still means that you maintain your morals. The only thing is that you put yourself within the reach of blessings. If there is a person who can be able to identify you in Lavington, and if the person who can identify you is in Maxwell, you can attend Maxwell. And why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because one of the things I've come to quite appreciate is that when people are shy, you can really find yourself not getting several things that will be blessings within your reach, just because you thought that you cannot be able to make it. So just repackage yourself, go out, and another thing is
Andrew?
with a few tips on how to walk this path. So it is not
It seems Andrew is having a network issue. Maybe we'll proceed even as we wait for him to come back. So, Pat, over to you. The church is two-sided. Those who are bought are seen as gems and praised, while those who keep the pregnancies are sidelined and are left to battle with the stigma of returning to church. So, I mean, it's a question on abortion, of course, which comes out of, the love and the relationship. So there is an aspect of a lady aborting and, of course, coming back to church like nothing happened. And pregnancy carrying is highly recommended. And now once she's come to church with the baby, there is a stigma. So what's your advice on that when it comes to maybe there's an early pregnancy or unexpected or unplanned? So what should a lady do? Over to you, Patricia.
I think the best scenario is where you don't expose yourself to the risk of a pregnancy. So ideally, this is something we should have at the fore of our mind, that every sexual encounter, even when you think you have the protections, has the potential of resulting in a pregnancy. So we shouldn't even be calling it unplanned, because you engaged in an activity that is designed to result in a pregnancy. Now, the moment you conceive, then that's a life. The sad thing is that you are right, that as society, the thing that we judge to be wrong is the pregnancy. But as long as you're able to have the sex and no one is seeing you, we will actually give you leadership positions in church and you will accept them. And sometimes even sit in a church board that disfellowships someone who is pregnant or someone who got another person pregnant. And yet you yourself are either through an adulterous relationship, if it's a man who is married, engaging with women in adulterous relationships, or it could even be, a woman like myself who is married, who is engaging in relationships. But as long as I'm not pregnant, I kind of think it's okay. I think the consolation that we should take is that these things are not hidden to God. And ultimately, depending on where your relationship with God stands, you will answer for them. Sometimes I say, God in his mercy allows for exposure. You've seen it always happens that way, that if you hold a position of responsibility, somehow inakulipukia tu, you could be, nibbling, kidogo, haya, Patricia is pregnant, what happened? Of course we know what happened. God in his mercy, I think, reaches out to me and says, let me expose you so that you can turn around before it's too late. Sometimes I feel sorry for those who terminate those pregnancies and think that the matter is hidden. They will face God ultimately. And I hope that matters to you. Sometimes I sympathize with those who are engaged in improper sexual relationships, have not yet been discovered, because ultimately the cover, the lid will be lifted. You just want to pray that it will not be on the judgment day. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Our brother Andrew, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, allow me just to make a comment as well on that. I think choices have consequences, and that is something we must take seriously. If we are worried of how people will think about us, let us be more worried about what God thinks about us. And if we can be worried about what God thinks about us, because those who gossip, trust me, after 1 year, they'll be quiet. But what does God think about you? So you see, if you're worried about what God thinks about you, it means before you find yourself into a given situation, well, you really have to think about it. One thing I always tell people is if you are to get pregnant and you are a youth, I as chief, I will not have a big issue of trying to say that, okay, now I don't want to talk to you or what. We will still love you, but you have to know one thing: you've disappointed us. You've disappointed God. That is true. The only problem is most of the people, when you disappoint them, they don't know how to handle it. So at times you find, because you've disappointed them, they've gone and talked to everyone. But one thing that should always be clear is we talk to you like this beforehand because we love you, we appreciate you, and we really want to guide you well. And if you find that there is something, by the way, it's interesting that most of the young people who try to have sexual relations outside marriage, it's interesting that they normally conceive. And it's funny, and I think the perspective have really been put well by Sister Patricia, that God may even want to just, you know, when you continue treading on the grace of God, and God is merciful and gracious, he has allowed you not to get pregnant, and you continue with this, one day he just allows you to get pregnant so that you can be able to now get to the point of knowing that, no, this is not good. But before we get to that, I think let's take seriously certain things. Like, for instance, we've spoken that fornication is not good. Let's avoid fornication. If we can just, the Bible says flee fornication. So just flee fornication. It will help with so many other things. But I wish we could get to a situation whereby, as God's children, we do not have a situation of constantly having to deal with what people call unwanted pregnancies and such. It will really be wonderful, because it will then mean like we would be wanting to do what does God want, because there is that which will please God. Let's not be worried about what people think. Let's be more worried about what God thinks. And that's why in our relationships, the center and the focus of our relationships should be, what does God think about me when I carry out myself? Thank you. Is Moses there?
We appear to have lost.
I think Moses was our moderator. Is it?
Yeah, he appears Lydia, are you moderating? Or Wendy?
Let me look for Moses.
Yeah, my phone has gone off. If you take us to the next question based on what was on the group.
Let me check it. Let me look at it.
Or if someone can pose a question even as we are holding on for the next question.
Does it mean things are very comprehensive?
Okay, so I'll just read the next one. That was saying, is it proper to date across social classes? Is it worth the challenges? So I guess what the person was asking is, when you have different social backgrounds, is it advisable for you guys to date? Or let's say I come from Kibra, I should just date somebody from Kibra. Those from Kileleshwa should date from Kileleshwa. So yeah, that's the question. And is it worth the challenge? I'll start perhaps with Andrew.
Wow, thank you for starting with me. I think I have to first of all admit that is it proper? Well, it depends. It depends with the person. There are some of us who like taking challenges. There are some who would prefer not to take challenges. So there are a lot of dynamics here involved. And why am I saying this? The social classes, what we are talking about over here is that we expect that there is the rich, there is the middle class, there is the lower class. Nowadays there are so many. There is upper middle, lower middle, quarter. There are so many things. But these are just their economic classes, of which are things that may change with the time. The other thing is that some of us find ourselves in these classes because our parents have decided to put us in those classes. Maybe you are going to be the person who is the poor one in your family. Your family may be everyone rich. Your dad may be very rich, but you're the only one who is going to be poor. So we never know. Is it worth the challenge? I would like to focus on relationship being more of not materialistic. When you look at the challenge, the moment you feel like you are finding the social class a bit of a challenge to you, then it may not be worth the challenge. Let me put it this way: if you don't understand Sheng, you come from the bourgeoisie and everything is fine English and all those, and then you find somebody from the ghetto who is on Sheng and everything, and you're not understanding. Tomorrow when you are together and he's talking to his buddies, you may be floating. You may feel out of place in the conversation. It's the same way if maybe you don't know the refined things of life, and I think there was even a question we were just asking a few minutes ago when you were asking about spoiling your friend and all that. So here is somebody whom the parents are fond of taking them to high-end hotels and all that. So what defines love to them will be being taken to high-end hotels. And maybe for you, the hotel things is neither here nor there. We just learn to struggle and survive through life. So you may find yourself being incompatible. There is a bit of incompatibility that may come with that. In fact, it's one of those things that I would say when we are talking about do not be unequally yoked. You really have to look at an equally yoked in all perspective. And that is why at times when there's a lot of disparity, and one group may feel like the other one is looking down on them, when actually you're not looking down on any person. You're just trying to be pragmatic in your own way. So I think it's something that we really have to check. Is it worth? I would say the relationship is worth. So you can check if the relationship is worth to you. It's one of those things where the Bible normally says that if you want to go to war, you need to check, do you have enough? If you want to build a house, you need to check, are you able to put the house to the fullest? And that is why when we are even talking of this social class, I want to just ask you, are you able to handle the issues? If, for instance, she's going to talk about stories of golf and Prados, Range Rovers, and Mercedes Benzes, you need to have something so that you can be able to have a conversation. My question is, how did you even start? What was your icebreaker when you started going out? Because you see, you go out with somebody because you love them. What moved you to love them? There are people whom you may find he's from a very high level, but he loves somebody from the low level class, and he understands them. He's willing to come down to their level. Or there's somebody else who is willing to upgrade and understand all the issues about those who are dealing with the higher social classes. So I think whether it is worth the struggles and everything, the moment you're calling it a struggle, I think that is not fine. It may mean you have a challenge. But if you are, if you're willing to pick up the challenge, if your love can cut across, such things have happened. There are love stories that have cut across, and I think it's quite possible. It's only, do you love each other? If you love each other, it can really work. Let me give you a classical example with myself. By the time I was dating, my dad didn't own a vehicle at that time. My parents did not own a vehicle. I didn't own a vehicle. For my my wife, at least the parents owned a vehicle. So you see, it was one of those things whereby I would see my wife viewed the parents' vehicle as that is for the parents. And she would not mind sitting in a matatu with me. So I didn't have to bother and look for Uber. In fact, we dated in the days when there was no Uber. The taxis were too expensive. I didn't have to look for that. She was willing to come down to my level and get into a matri, and we squeeze ourselves over there. And yet the dad would easily pick her with a vehicle. But just a year afterwards, I also was blessed with the Lord and I managed to get a vehicle. And now I'm able to drive her. So what I actually mean is, if we were to look at vehicle and trekking, then we were of different social classes. But the thing is, love is what brought us together. And whether walking or what, we have walked with my wife, we have been in vehicles together. So it's love that binds us. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that. And welcome back, Kefa. I just want to bring part into it so that she can also weigh on the issue.
Thanks. I want to agree 100% with Chief. And I think this question underscores that indeed love can never be blind. You know, the people say love is blind or I fall in love. This question actually is the best answer, that you can't just fall in love. You have to walk into this thing you're calling love with your eyes wide open, with your mind engaged, your feet on the ground. our backgrounds really influence, for instance, our attitudes toward money. If you come from a background where putting food on the table is an achievement, then your attitude towards money is that this thing, it's not guaranteed, it can disappear. So whenever you have money, you are keeping it away. But if your background is that you actually did not even connect the fact that you're eating with money because it's just happened. So you don't have any anxieties around money. So that's an example of what money can mean. Background might also mean the way you treat people. If you are raised in affluence, you kind of get to understand that people owe you, you know, that things are done for you, and that's your appreciation of how the world rolls. If you grew up in limited resources, you kind of get to appreciate that the amount of sweat you put in is equal to the amount of money you have. So it's good for you to also appreciate, who am I? What really am I? Because the moment you understand yourself, you reduce the burden on your partner, your spouse, your girlfriend, because you will understand where you're coming from, as opposed to when your girlfriend says, "Oh, I'm tired. Why don't you call an Uber?" And you start lecturing her for an hour about how wasteful that is. You know, that, why are you always challenging me? Eh? Why don't you even just use Nduthi? You know, and we share it. You don't even want to use separate Nduthis. So it's good for you to really know, what is my relationship at this point in life with all these things that you want to call social class. What I know is that when both of you are mature and solid, you are able to translate these, what you're calling your differences, into your strengths. They are actually the very elements, because you will have, and this is how the world usually works, that opposites attract. In fact, it would be, if I ended up marrying someone exactly like me, why did I not just paint my own portrait and live with it? If I didn't want to step out of my comfort zone, what I feel confident about, what I understand. I come from a school of thought that says life is an adventure. If I had had the capabilities, probably I should even be a Mrs. Patel now. But my field was limited. I only managed to make it from Busia to Kisii. I didn't manage to make it to the coast. So, but just to encourage us, let's not, you know, the way people say, don't just get comfortable in your comfort zone. I think in our relationships is also a wonderful opportunity for you to test life in its marvelous diversity. I think there's a question that's also related there that says, what are the challenges around marrying from a different culture? I liked what Andrew Chief said earlier. What was your icebreaker? Because you build on something. I feel that sometimes we put obstacles in our path that should not even be there. Because I am first and foremost Patricia, and then after that is when I come from Budalangi, and Samia and all these other things. He is first of all Kennedy Monchere, and then he comes from Bomachoge. So if at the basics, you know, he finds me physically attractive, he understands me when I talk, I respect him, I honor him. As I said earlier, he is showering me with treats of bread, an occasional chips at Wimpy, a pizza at Mandy's. After that, because the truth of the matter, especially in our African context, you don't just marry your husband, you actually marry his family. And he marries your family. So it's important for you when you're making this decision. That's why we say don't fall in love. Walk in with your feet on the ground and understand that, oh, the community that I am getting married into, men are the ones who sleep on the right side of the bed. Okay? The community I am getting married into, my mother-in-law cannot share the same door with me. She has to enter we will actually have to create a door for her to enter. After you have understood some of those cultural issues, the two of you then can sit and say, especially if you're church going, and say, Haya, in your community, a man cannot enter the kitchen. What does that mean for our relationship? Discuss it. In your community, you have to circumcise your daughters. What does that mean for our relationship? If we're going to live by Seventh-day Adventist principles. In your community, polygamy is tolerated. What does that mean for our relationship? So we cannot step out of our culture. We should celebrate the fact that somehow we now have a Seventh-day Adventist culture. But I would emphasize the fact that as long as the two of you get to a level where your Seventh-day Adventist culture overrides your customary cultures, then you should be fine. But if, and I think there are quite a number of cases like this I have seen, where I come from a different community, I marry into another community, and his people never get to accept me because they say she just does not even know how to cook ugali the way we cook it. Our ugali is hard, she cooks hers soft. And that seems to be such a big issue. So I would really encourage us that in all this, let's walk into these relationships with our eyes and our brains, our intellect, and like we discussed last week, if you're in a relationship with someone headed for marriage, you can't gloss over some of these things. So I think cultural differences are one of those that you must tackle before you formalize the relationship. And if you, for God's sake, if you find that on some of those things you cannot compromise, I had a young lady who the boyfriend said, hey, don't talk badly about our tendency to inherit women. You should also expect if I go before you to be inherited. I told her, that one, just compete with Kipchoge Keino and let him not see even your back. Just take off. Because there must be certain things that you should be able to say no thank you to. Yeah, and you only get there if you have candid conversations before you commit.
Thank you, Patricia. Members, we thank you so much for finding time to join us today. So this will be our last question. You've been an amazing audience. So over to you, Andrew. So there is a question here. This will be the last one for today. And of course, we are closing the love and relationships part. So why do some men see single mothers as a burden to them until they can't initiate a relationship with them but play with their feelings? Especially now, this is, I think, a follow-up question from the aspect of abortion and, of course, keeping the pregnancy. Now, it has ascended to actually someone now being a single mother. Of course, we have our men in church who see these single mothers as a burden, and they can't actually initiate an official relationship with them, but rather play with their feelings. So what's your take on that, Andrew? And of course, we'll finish with our sister, Patricia.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I must make certain things clear. And one of the things that I want to make clear is we need to be sure of what we want. If for instance, you know, you are not going to get into a relationship, I think it is not good to find yourself even going about such kinds of a thing. You need to be sure of what you want. It is not a very polite thing for people to be trifling with their heart, God's children. I think it is not it's not a polite thing.
Andrew, are you done? Patricia, your take on that?
Yeah. As Andrew rejoins, I think part of the challenge that is I can see in that scenario is that the lady who now has a child is seen to be in a weakened position. The church frowns on single motherhood. She's looking to also get into a relationship. So I think for anyone who is out there on the prowl, she's an easy target because she's yearning for a way to get back into, and in a conservative church like ours, into good and regular standing. And I suppose a man would probably be best placed to answer this. I think in his mind, he's reasoning, she can't even pretend that she's a virgin to me because she already has a child. So asinilete standard sana, and it's easy to play around with her feelings that way. What I would want to encourage any lady who is on this call who is single is that there is nothing wrong with being single. Absolutely. It is also a recognized family. And like I said, things that are between you and God are between you and God. So just to encourage the sisters on this call, that if perchance you find that you were in a relationship with someone, got pregnant, you or him decided not to commit, I think don't let anyone to now try and take advantage of you. First of all, no one should persuade you that your market value has reduced. It hasn't. There's a gentleman out there who will respect you for who you are and take you plus your child. I think I have learned in my life to pray to God specifically. So I think if you're in that situation, you need to be able to pray to God specifically and say, give me a man who will honor me and love my child, and then allow God to provide. Secondly, you must now sit back and, having prayed to God, then take your place in society. Don't allow anyone to define for you what you can and cannot do. Because I think the problem is, in church we rank. So we say at the highest level is the married man who is an elder. That's the one who sits in premier class, closely followed by the man who is a deacon, and then the man who is the church treasurer. Somewhere along there is, you will then get the AWM leader who is married, followed closely by the Dorcas society leader. Then you will find the youth leader, especially if he is male, will also be among the top 10 most distinguished members of a congregation. And then somewhere there at the bottom will be the single ladies who are 30 years old, and right at the bottom are the single married women. I don't think this is how God ranks us, and we should not allow anyone to then rank us. We should know that in God's eyes, we are all his redeemed children, and he values us equally. So I think the days of single girls being preyed upon, and I'm really pleading to the young men who are on the call, treat these ladies with respect. My sense is that if two young people in church honor each other, respect each other, that's the best marriage you can hope for. That's the best partner you can hope for. So let's stop this business of, looking for the beautiful ones that God has not yet even created. Let's just see the people we have in our fellowship. Andrew will tell you, I will tell you with my years of marriage, that when I married my husband, I did not know that he would be the man he is today. He has evolved. He has grown. So ladies, don't look at Kefa. His shoe is well worn. It has an intimate relationship with tarmac, and you discount him. You say, I don't want to be stuck with Mutu wa Futsibishi. The truth of the matter is, you link up with Kefa, support him, encourage him. One of these days, somewhere along in your path, you will look at Kefa and you'll say, wow, is this the same guy? So let's not discount our young men because they are hustling right now. This is temporary. It's not their permanent state. And let's treat our ladies with respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Andrew, if you are back, you can continue putting your point across, and of course, give your final remarks. Since we're almost out of time, so in 2 minutes, what is the main message that you would like the audience to take away from today? Andrew, over to you. So this will be your final remarks. Andrew? even as we're waiting for Andrew. So I tried to contact my elder. Seems he had other schedules that were running. So I'm not sure whether he'll be able to join us today. So having tackled the last question, and okay, Andrew is back. So Andrew will give his final remarks for 2 minutes, and of course we give Patricia also an opportunity to give final remarks, and then we'll end the meeting. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, my baby behaved like a baby, so I had to provide a solution quickly. That's why I had to just leave abruptly. Now, I like the perspective that Pat has just shared with us, because I was able to get it. And it is, what point I was getting to earlier on was, it is not good for us to trifle with hearts. And so, since I was handling both baby and baby, since it's not good for us to trifle with hearts, please, if you are not going to get serious with that lady because you feel like she's single, please don't go in that direction. Otherwise, what you're doing, in fact, the Bible is very clear that it were better for you that a millstone is tied upon your neck than to offend one of the little ones who believe in God. That's a child of God you're dealing with. The fact that she may have gotten a child out of wedlock and all that means that she even needs extra care. She needs a more genuine person, because the first person who ran away because they were just joking with her. So now she needs somebody who really means it when they say they love her. So when you're looking at that, it's good to really be very serious. And something else I want to tell us is, I've had us being encouraged. There's nothing like your expiry date and all that. The only thing is, set your timelines by yourself, pray to God, let the divine timeline collapse with yours. Don't be so much worried. The moment you're so much worried and all that, it means you're not learning even to put things in the hand of God. You see, one of the reasons young people are having too much pressure is because they even fear trusting in God. When you trust in God, you can even present your papers tomorrow, Moses. You can go and tell somebody that I'm interested. Let me tell you, if you don't present your papers, how then will you fail exams or pass exams? So you need to, first of all, present your papers. Then if you fail, you come back. We say, okay, you failed. But what were the lessons you learned in that class? Now that you failed, what are the things that you need to change? And there's something that was stated here, which I really need to stress to us. The person you see right now as me speaking, you should have seen some of our earlier photos. Some of us have been well groomed. By the way, some of us, whatever you see as me is something that has been well groomed, and my wife has really worked on it, panel beating and everything to get me where I am. So ladies, don't look for everything to come as a package. And please do not compare Kefa to Chief. Kefa is Kefa, Chief is Chief. But one thing, all of us have potential, and all of us have got a unique aspect. So accept somebody for their being unique in their own category, and then also be what you want others to be. Today I was handling a family life. I'm handling a family life week with some church, and I was telling them that a lady who expects to be treated like a queen must behave like a queen. And those who are dating queens must know that they are kings. So you also have to behave like a king. And that then now puts both of you at royalty. When you're a child of God, behave like a child of God, then you can be treated like a child of God. If you're a child of God, expect that you will be given only things that are given to a child of God at that level. Men, listen to me carefully. And ladies, if you're a child of God, only give the things that God wants you to give at that level, because you are serious. And if somebody wants anything extra, tell them the best is yet to come. And that's why we are Adventists. Adventists look forward to the second coming. So if you can wait for the second coming, there are certain things you don't receive right now. You have to look forward to the future. So you can tell them, if right now you are happy with me like this, what if one day we are married? You will be happier. But you can't be experiencing the things of marriage when you're not yet married. So I think my parting shot is, please, let this not be another exercise in futility. I have really tried to sacrifice my time, and I know Sister Patricia has also equally done that. The best way you can do, the best way you can thank me is to take God's word seriously, take the lessons you've learned seriously, and let's see the products of these lessons. By the way, what makes me happiest is when I see young people who have benefited from these sessions. Then I say it was good that I sacrificed my time. So the best way you can thank me is put it into practice. And as the Lord wills, we'll pray with you, we'll pray for you, and we will wait for the invitations. And we'll also pray that when you present your applications, let them be accepted. And for those who will be given applications, we are also praying that sensible people present applications, not just anyone, so that you fall desperate and accept anything. But we want you to have godly relationships. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrew. It's been amazing having you on the platform. We look forward to such sessions maybe in future, but we really learned a lot. Thank you so much for your sacrifice. So over to you, Patricia, for your final remarks, and of course, give us your chief takeaway. What do you want us to take home from this series of love and relationships? So also, once you're done with your take-home part, you can as well close the meeting with a prayer. Thank you, Patricia. Welcome.
My prayer for you really is that you be that generation that will prove God's word. When God says he has called a generation of Daniels and Josephs, let that be you guys. That really will be our sense of pride. I'm a member of Lavington, and I would really pray that our young people at Lavington Church would be kind of a beacon on how it is we should conduct our relationships, and to see a generation of young married couples who are carrying out relationships as God has called us to be, upright and holy. When I was looking at the screen, at my age, I'm allowed to do that. I have just been playing Sudoku with some of the names here and saying, that would sound nice as Mrs. Kefa. That would sound very good as Mrs. Mogaka. So if you want more information on that, you can inbox me and I'll tell you how I was shifting things. I think I'll just encourage that future calls, you turn on your camera. This could be an opportunity for someone to spot you and send you a direct message into your inbox, and who knows what can happen. So this tabia of keeping cameras off when you're on conversations such as this is not to be encouraged. But let's pray, and you'll know what I'll be praying for. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you. We have been together now for a series, and it has come to an end. We want to pray for all the young people who have been on this call, that Lord, as they make this very difficult decision on the relationships that they will have, some of these relationships leading to marriage, we want to pray, Lord, that you guide their feet. We want to pray, Lord, that you give them wisdom, want to pray that every young person, as they pray, Lord, you shall lead them to a soulmate who shall be a blessing and not a source of pain. I want to thank you for Chief Andrew, who has been on these calls with his wife, together with Elder Simba, and we pray for their families, that even as they have offered us the wisdom of their families, that you will continue to bless these families. We thank you. We have started a new week. We commit it into your hands, and we pray, Lord, that according to your will, according to your purpose, we shall find fulfillment in our lives. We thank you. We have prayed, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists, for really sacrificing your time to be with us. So we've come to the end of our love and the relationship part on our youth catch-up, aka Vitu Quadrao meetings. So we shall be coming back to you with more topics that we haven't tackled, of course, from the questionnaires that were filled out. So till next time, is really I'm expressing my great appreciation to you all for taking time to join us. So from all of us here, I was your host tonight, Moses Kefa. We had Patricia Nyaundi. Our elder Simba wasn't able to join us from Zimbabwe today, but maybe in the next session, he will be able to join us. Andrew, thank you so much for being part of us. Till next time, it's a good night to all of you, and God bless you. Thank you so much. Have a good week.